Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Kingdom Hearts 2 Critical Mode video walkthrough. Once again, we're in the Gummy ship section. This is Kingdom Hearts. The Gummy ship happens. Depending on whether or not you like these sequences will depend on how frequently you play them, but I love them. The only problem with this game is when you go back to the first one, the Gummy ship sequences seem even worse than what they were, and they were pretty bad. Which is a shame, but I'm hoping this makes a comeback in Kingdom Hearts 3, because one of the things you'll notice in Birth by Sleep is that there is no Gummy sequences, and I assume that's because Gummies didn't exist back then. I think that's the narrative conceit for that. Because instead of Gummy ships, they use the Keyblade, because the Keyblade turns into some kind of crazy space surfer, which I'm wondering if that's going to coalesce into Kingdom Hearts 3. And Sora's gonna, I don't know, I don't even know what he could do. He's gonna somehow find one of the old Keyblade masters and actually be taught how to use the weapon rather than just freestyling and kicking everything's ass. Because that'd be cool, because then he'd get the Keyblade armor, and maybe you'd be able to get like those Keyblade gliders, which, I don't know, the secret trailer at the end of this game when it first came out, when I first got it and I watched it, it blew me away. And it blew me away because it was more Zone of the Enders than it was Kingdom Hearts. Like, it was the farthest from Disney you could ever get at that point, and I loved it because I just loved the look of the armor and the capes and the Keyblades and the Keyblade graveyards, and everything just looked madness. And then when Birth by Sleep came out and we realised what all that stuff meant, it wasn't as cool. I mean, it was still cool, but it wasn't as cool. Mainly because Terra doesn't get his cape until the end when you don't play as him, which is bullshit. Give me the cape, Terra, goddammit. But it's really strange that when I first saw that, my imagination went wild. Like, what the hell could this mean? I thought it was going to be some kind of Final Fantasy X shit where we were in the future and everybody was all armoured and shit just was badass and post-apocalyptic and weird and not Disney-friendly. And there's a part of me that still wants that game, but what they've turned it into is it's kind of just Keyblade armour that is only ever used when they're traversing space and on the final battles. And I'm not asking for it to be a gameplay conceit, because then it would be even worse. They'd turn it into some kind of fucking drive system on Devil Trigger, and then I'd never use it even though it looks amazing. But it'd be nice if the armour made a comeback and it had some kind of awesome function. Because the problem with the armour in Birth by Sleep is of course it's a limited system. It was designed for something with the power of a PS2. It looks a bit flat. It's a testament to great textures, but it's not really armour when you look at it. It's kind of like a skin suit. It looks a lot more like the engineering suit from Dead Space 2, where he's in kind of a spandex with a pattern on it. And that is 100% memory and you know, like hardware restrictions. So on the PS3 they don't have that, so the armour could look absolutely awesome. And maybe there'd be a way to initiate it like they do when they touch that shoulder thing and it puts it on. Because Terra's armor is so goddamn good, man. He looks like Anubis. He looks like some kind of crazy space Anubis, much like Anubis in Zone of the Enders, who is my favourite character in that series because he's fucking awesome. So I have a massive hard-on for Terra's armor. And then when you played the game, you ran around as a dude wearing really stretchy pants. And then at the end, you got to look awesome for a bit, which is cool. But I guess I'm just curious where it's going to go with that kind of stuff. But this is Agrabah. We're taking on these sword guys who, if they start doing moves like this and they're looking at you and it hits you, you're dead. There's not much you can do when they do stuff like that, unless you get the parry, of course. If you can block them and stop them, you can punish them. But every so often, you get a little hitty there, left and right, what have you. Goofy and Donald don't do too bad here, which is nice. But another jarring end to a fight that you might have to just survive. It might be quicker to actually die there. There are a lot of encounters on this game where getting killed doesn't actually lead to a fail state. It just ends the sequence because you were meant to kind of fight and have a scrap. And for the purposes of a walkthrough, I've tried my best not to do those strategies, but if I ever came back to the game, I'd probably pull them quite a lot, because some of them are, like those fights there, when you can't kill everything, it seems kind of worthless to me to just fight. You know, I'd rather just kind of end it. It's similar to the 1000 Heartless battle. I read a comment the other day of somebody saying it'd be awesome if we could get a Kingdom Hearts Dynasty Warriors game, and you already have that, folks. It's the 1000 Heartless battle all day, every day, and I don't think there's anything worse, because that fight is boring as shit. It's impressive to look at, and it runs considerably better on these consoles than it ever did on the PS2, but outside of using that reaction command, it's fucking garbage. It's really bad. I've never liked that fight. I always find it to go on for far too long, and all you're doing is waiting for those reaction commands that every so often don't turn up, which is frustrating, so I've never been a big fan of that. And you know where I stand on Dynasty Warriors, so I don't think there's anything I would want to happen to this game lesser so than it to be turned into that series, because it's just not, no. But there is life in that series if they were to change the way the mechanics work, you know, and actually put depth in there and player control, but they won't, because they're too focused on the thing that they're doing, and they've got a very dedicated niche market of people who like it that way, and, you know, like it that way, I guess. So at this point, you don't have to do what I'm doing here. I'm kind of running around Agrabah picking stuff up. When you go in that room, there's a little cutscene with Jasmine telling you that I believe Aladdin's gone to the Cave of Wonders. So we're going to head back through here, and we're going to go towards it ourselves. That right there is a reaction command, which is a really fun one. I'm hoping in Kingdom Hearts 3 that the reaction commands are tighter, because they really need to be. And I find it interesting that you don't get them in Birth by Sleep. Like, this game, its bread and butter was reaction commands. Birth by Sleep introduces the new command system. Dream Drop Distance, I believe, used the command system as well. I'm hoping there's going to be a unison of both, because there's something cool about those reaction commands. There's just a void where player control needs to fill. And once we have that, it could be really good. Like, it could be something silly as, if you counterattack an enemy after their attack, you'll stun them. Like, the first hit will make them flinch into like a stunned animation, the second hit will perhaps make them recover, but if you hit them with that first one, you can immediately reaction command them. You know, some kind of system that guarantees when you can use it rather than guessing or hoping. Because as it stands, it's a little bit Azura's Wrathy, and that is not a compliment, as much as I like that game. And then the commands, I'm hoping the commands get a tweak. I want you to be able to do the commands in midair, because it fucks me off when those command style changes and you can't do a standard attack because it's going to do a finisher, and you jump to do a finisher and then whoever you're playing as does nothing and lands and does that move you didn't want to do. Or even an option to hold a button and do normal attacks while saving it, because that is wicked frustrating, and it'd open up a whole new element of strategy to that game, because those finishing moves give you iframes, so you could use them as a defensive technique to get out of an attack you don't know how to dodge, and that would be awesome. Speaking of awesome, the fire breath he's fired at me just then can be parried, and if you hit him, it'll stun him. As you see, I thought he was doing it then, but he did the fire breath. Also, if you launch him and you press triangle, you'll kill him the same way you did with the fat body guys. These are the Fat Bandits, I believe. One of the names I do remember. But not a tough enemy, I'm just making it look difficult. Every so often, you know, I suppose I've got to do that. But the series that I've mentioned that I still haven't shared with you, which I have a few episodes made, I just haven't got round to sharing them. The Backseat Game Dev. I think I'm going to cover one of these games because there's so many things I would change, but a lot of them are very small, subtle things which, you know, a lot of players might have not even thought about, and I think they would make it a considerably better game. But the market stalls here can be broken, but as I'm displaying, they take a little bit more damage than you think they would. And I don't really know why. It's not like they give you anything good. So to have them as tough as some enemies seems like a strange choice. But look at Goofy go. Goofy's really good with that move. Can you imagine if you could control your team somehow? Like you could command them a la Mass Effect style by bringing up an overlay and then picking the moves that they used. Because at this moment in time you can turn moves on and off, and choose which ones they use more frequently than others, but I mean really control them. That would be interesting. I don't know, like an assist button off of Marvel. That'd be something strange to see. I always found this level interesting too because Iago's helping you. And I assume he's helping you, so you can somehow circumvent your efforts and help Jafar. Or at this point, has he been betrayed by Jafar? I can't say I watched the cutscene for this world, because I was trying to record quickly, you see. Casualties were made. There's a skill ring. What are we, level 23? That's not too bad. 7 hours in. Not exactly a speedrun, but we're making good time. Like, synthesis is another really interesting aspect of this game, and I would love it to get even more complicated. Because the weapons and the armour, some of them are so cool, but you get them at the end of the game, and then there's nothing really much else to do with them. It'd be awesome if you could work towards them and use skill and knowledge to get them earlier. That's my favourite aspects of games, and a lot of them just don't have it. And I know it's selfish to expect them to, or to even hope that they do, but I can't help doing it, because it is, of course, what I would like, I guess. But these are words. They come out of mouths. They involve tongues, and they're not working right now. See you later. Now, this is the Cave of Wonder. You'll remember this from Kingdom Hearts 1, because it was actually a very tricky fight, thanks to some of the enemies that could cheesily hurt you. But we come back here, and it looks completely different, which is a tenet that Kingdom Hearts does quite subtly sometimes. You go to areas you think you understand, and then when you get there, very different place. I suppose the narrative conceit here could be that it's a different part of the cave, but it still looks pretty damn different. And I like this particular part of the level, because there's a lot of enemies to kill, there's a lot of items to pick up, there's a little bit of platforming, and then there's a couple of gauntlet fights. It's kind of a distilled form of Kingdom Hearts, but it's still fun. And speaking of distilled forms of Kingdom Hearts, at the end of Birth by Sleep, once you do the final episode, you unlock the secret one on the final mix /2.5. And that level has some of the most fun level design in that entire game, because it trusts the player to do a little bit of platforming instead of having everything mindlessly linear. And the difference between that particular level and all the other ones you've played in is staggering. And all they've done is included a little bit of verticality. And I think it worked really well. So much so, I wish it was in the rest of the game, because that is a game where the jump is surprisingly good. And I find it funny that the first Kingdom Hearts, got so panned for its jumping and its jumping mechanics that they've almost reduced the games now to having no platforming at all. There's small opportunities for it, but for the most you can get around them. And in the games where the jump is really useful and really good, and you have double jumps and glides and things, they have the least amount of jumping. Like, if you could get Birth by Sleep's jump mechanic into Kingdom Hearts 1, nobody would have complained about the jumping. Not a single person. Except for that asshole who likes to go against everybody else. Because the jumping in those titles is really fun. Especially when you get Super Glide. Super Glide is something every character should be able to get every time they first go to Disneyland. And you should be able to go to Disney Town on the first rotation of planets, of worlds, sorry. Because then it'd be amazing. Because that move is so much fun. And if Terra could get it, and he might be able to get Glide, but I guess I haven't figured out where yet. But if you could get Super Glide, you could dodge the bullshit meteor attack by the final boss effortlessly. So I should probably look that up after this commentary to see if Terra can get it. Because Super Glide is amazingly good. But this is the objective of the video. We've come here. There's a random jewel that needs to go in a pedestal in front of us with that smiling genie, monkey, Buddha thing. And then there's a little minigame with Abu. He has to go forward, and then a bunch of enemies are gonna... I say enemies, a bunch of water is going to turn up. So you have to have Abu jump over it, which involves using reaction commands. And for the most, it's pretty simple. But the ice that you see that's hitting me now is doing a compelling job of killing me. However, I didn't die, and that's all that's important. So afterwards it refills your life, talk to Iago, he's going to tell you where they want you to go, now you can move on. But this is interesting, because this is pretty much one of the only gauntlet fights in the game as far as one that doesn't outstay its welcome. You fall down a platform, you start a fight, and then you fall down another platform and you start a fight, and you do that till you get to the bottom, and I really like this section because it's brief. And I think brevity is a skill that not all developers have. Some people probably think I don't have it when it comes to commentary because I'm talking constantly over these videos, and if it wasn't designed that way, folks, I wouldn't do it. And believe you me, there are times when I wish I hadn't committed to doing it this way, but you know, I adhere to the same amount. Watch this! That was really, really, really close. So I couldn't get out of that if you're wondering, and it does really big damage, so it gave me a healthy respect for fire breath. There's another sticker. Or I think it's a sticker because that's what they are in the other place. More fire breath. This one is a little bit larger than the last platform, it seems, so he probably can't stun lock you quite so well as he did in the last fight. There we go. Into full swing, into kill. That is cool as hell, that. How good is that? You parry his blast, into reaction command, into kill. That's the kind of mechanic every enemy should have, and it should flow fluently from a really good strategy. That's the game I want. Doesn't have to be that quick, just reliable. Like, give me a reliable way to stun an enemy and attack him so I can get a full combo off without him armoring through it into his own combo that kills me. That's all I ask. You know, let them abide by the same rules we abide by. A la, when you start getting hit, you don't recover instantly and start hitting back. Yeah, every single boss does that, and it's something you have to learn to put up with, because if you don't, you're gonna die. But just translate this. It's going to put us into another little bit of a gauntlet, and then we get to kill some more dudes. And I believe this is the treasure room, just with kind of like a black background laid over it. If you have Magnet here, which I don't know if you can get this early, but Magnet against small enemies into any spell, a la the Fire spell or the Thunder spell, is pretty much the best crowd control technique you can get against these small assholes. But of course, I'm not going to use that stuff. I'm just going to swing my sword or my key, because that's the kind of way I've always played Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2. It's funny, the ways you do things when you... Ooh, this is a rough place. So immediately I go into limit mode to get the iframes because I knew the fire breath was going to be wicked dangerous. It is a good strategy as well. However, I didn't mean to get... I think it's Fantasia, this one. It's not the one I would have picked, but as long as it saves my ass, I don't mind. And that is a really good strategy to get into if there's any attack you're not confident in. Drop a limit, get that iframes, do some damage while you're at it. Really effective strategy, and a fun one too, because it's kind of interesting. But all that's left now is to confront the peddler guy who conned us into going into trouble, and then we're going to be moving on to the boss fight against the Fire and Ice brothers, which are called something ridiculous. I can't remember the names. But it's not a very challenging boss, it's a pretty fun one. And towards the end of it, it can go rough pretty quickly, but for the most, you should be okay. But it would appear I'm fighting a bunch of the fat bandits. That is so cool, that. Did you see how I got iframes during the reaction command? Really useful. And he drops blazing gems. That fire breath. Definitely likes doing that over the blast, it would seem. Donald makes a very strange noise when he's getting hit. He's just not playing the game, and whenever his back's against a wall, really dangerous, because if you hit him from in front, he's going to bounce you off him. But anything else? Or are we just going to go to where the boss is, it looks like? Yeah, just go down here towards the boss. Thank you for watching. You take care now.